The sky burned red above Earth. It was not fire from the ground, but from ships that were not human. The Zoran Dominion had come without warning. They did not speak peace. They spoke only one message, repeated on every frequency. Surrender your world. Major Ethan Cole stood in the underground command center as the screen filled with static. The last defense fleet was gone. The orbital citadel Haven, once Earth's strongest fortress, had vanished into light. The comms officers around him said nothing. They just watched the empty screen and waited for new orders that would never come. Ethan turned toward the ceiling as if he could still see the sky through the metal and dirt. He could almost hear the screams above, the sound of cities breaking apart. The enemy was not sending machines. They were sending living beasts, tall as towers, with skin like black armor and mouths that burned with plasma. The Air Force had fallen in minutes. The ground troops followed soon after. A young lieutenant ran to him, panic in his voice. "Command says fall back, sir. All units are to retreat to Zone Delta." Ethan's answer was sharp. "There are still civilians in the upper sectors. We're not leaving them." "Sir, they said everyone is lost up there." Ethan looked him in the eyes. "Not while I'm still breathing." He moved fast, grabbing his helmet and rifle. A small group of soldiers followed him through the reinforced doors. They climbed through a lift shaft to reach the surface. When the doors opened, the city was gone. Buildings stood like broken teeth under the orange clouds. The air smelled of metal and smoke. A shape moved through the dust. One of the Zoran beasts stepped forward, each step shaking the ground. "Spread out," Ethan ordered. "Aim for the joints." The soldiers opened fire. Bullets and rockets struck the creature but did little. It turned, its chest glowing, then unleashed a blast that tore half the street apart. Two of Ethan's men vanished in the fire. Another screamed as debris crushed him. Ethan dove behind a wrecked truck. His rifle clicked empty. He looked around, but there was no backup, no tanks, no sky support. Only fire and the sound of the creature's growl. He touched the side of his helmet. The command line was dead. No voice answered. He looked at the bodies of his squad and felt the weight of silence. For a moment it felt like the end of the human race. The beast turned its head toward him. Its eyes glowed like molten glass. It stepped closer, slow and certain. Each step cracked the road like thunder. Ethan rose, broken rifle in hand. He stared up at it, jaw tight. He knew he could not win, but he also knew he would not kneel. He whispered to himself, almost smiling through the blood on his lips. "You think you're the only one with monsters." He raised two fingers and gave a sharp whistle. The sound cut through the smoke, high and clear. For a second there was no answer. Then the ground trembled harder than before. The beast stopped moving. Dust lifted from the cracked road. Metal beneath the city began to shift. Ethan felt the vibration under his boots. It was deep, mechanical, and alive. He stepped back as the street split open. A column of light rose from below, and with it, a shape of iron and bone. The creature above roared in challenge. The new one answered with a sound that was not from any alien world. Ethan's eyes widened. He knew what was waking. Humanity's forbidden creation, the one they swore to bury forever. The alien beast charged. The ground opened wider. The metal giant rose to meet it. Ethan smiled once, tired but alive. "It's time," he said softly. Then the world exploded in light.
The city shook as two giants clashed. The alien beast roared, its claws cutting through the air. The metal giant rose from the ground, taller, heavier, its armor cracked and smoking. It moved with rage and purpose. Every step sent waves of dust and debris into the sky. Ethan watched from behind a fallen wall, eyes wide. He could feel the vibration through the ground, deep and alive. The old human machine had awakened after years of silence. The Atlas prototype. It had been buried beneath the city, locked away when the world thought it would never need monsters again. The alien beast lunged first. The Atlas met it head-on. Steel fists crashed into alien flesh. The noise was like thunder. A blast of plasma burned across the Atlas chest, melting armor, but it did not stop. It caught the alien by the neck and slammed it into the street, breaking through layers of concrete. The alien screamed, tail whipping out, throwing the Atlas into a tower. Metal tore, sparks rained down. Ethan could barely see through the smoke. He ran toward a fallen cum truck, trying to get a signal. The radio was fried. Static only. He hit the side of the console in frustration. Come on, he said. Somebody answer, no one did. He looked back at the battlefield. The Atlas staggered, then straightened again. Its right arm hung loose, but the left glowed as internal power cells flared. It charged forward, hitting the alien again and again, each blow breaking the air with a sharp crack. The alien's blood hissed as it hit the ground. The Atlas stepped on its chest, pressing down. The alien twisted, trying to bite through the metal, but Ethan saw something shift in the Atlas movements. It wasn't random. It was responding to his whistle command. It was following him. He stood on the edge of the ruined street and raised his voice. Finish it, he shouted. The Atlas turned its head slightly, as if hearing him. Then it slammed its remaining arm down, crushing the alien's skull. The body went still. The street fell silent, except for the hum of the Atlas reactor. Ethan walked closer, dust covering his face. The machine's eyes dimmed, but stayed locked on him. He felt a strange pull in his mind, like the machine was watching him, waiting for a command. He whispered, "You did good." But before he could say anything more, the Atlas staggered. Its armor plates opened, smoke pouring out. Sparks flashed from the joints. It knelt, one hand bracing on the ground. Ethan's heart sank. He ran forward, shouting, "No, no, stay online." He climbed onto the damaged surface and reached the open hatch on its chest. Inside was a glowing core, cracked and leaking blue light. He saw warning symbols flashing on the old display. System failure, core breach imminent. Don't die on me, he said, placing his hand on the hot metal. The surface vibrated under his palm like a heartbeat slowing down. Then a sound came from inside the core. A voice, mechanical and faint. Pilot, identified. Major Ethan Cole. Neural key accepted. Ethan froze. The machine recognized him. Somehow the link still worked. He leaned closer. "Tell me what to do." The voice broke with static. "Core failing, data. Transfer in progress." Lights on the core shifted, then projected symbols into the air. Blue holograms flickered. Ethan saw coordinates, old serial numbers, and one final line that made his blood run cold. 4 remaining units located. Status, captured, captured. The other atlases were not destroyed. They were taken. The Atlas core dimmed. Its voice fell silent. The machine stopped moving. Ethan stepped back as its head lowered, metal groaning. The last human war machine had died saving him. He stood alone among the smoke, fists tight, staring at the coordinates still floating in the air. Then his radio came to life, filled with an alien voice. "We have your other beasts." Ethan turned toward the burning horizon, his face hardened. "They have no idea what they just started," he said.
Cold light filled the holding cell, metal walls, chains, silence except for the hum of engines. Ethan sat on the floor with blood on his hands. His armor was gone, his wrists locked behind his back. The Zoran ship smelled like acid and smoke. Every few seconds he heard a low rumble, the sound of something alive moving through the decks above. He had been captured after a failed escape from the ruins. He had tried to reach the coordinates the atlas showed him, but they found him first. Now he was deep inside one of their dread ships, heading toward somewhere worse. The door hissed open. 2 alien guards entered, tall and covered in armor that looked grown, not built. Their skin was gray, their eyes bright like glass. One grabbed Ethan by the arm and dragged him down a corridor. The metal floor was slick with some kind of liquid. The ship pulsed like a heartbeat around him. They brought him into a vast chamber. The walls were lined with glowing pods. Inside each pod was a shape, human shapes, machines too. Some were twisted together, half flesh, half steel. He realized what he was seeing and felt his stomach turn. The other atlases, the ones that were taken. A voice came from the upper platform, deep, calm, and cruel. "You built fine creatures, human." Ethan looked up. The Zoran commander stood there, Lord Vorketh. Tall, skin marked with silver veins, wearing armor made from the bones of something huge. He stepped down slowly, hands behind his back. Vorketh stopped in front of Ethan. "We took your creations and made them better. Your beasts now serve us." Ethan spat blood on the floor. "You don't even understand what you're holding." Vorketh smiled slightly. "We understand enough. We broke their minds. We rebuilt their hearts. They fight for the Dominion now." He motioned to the pods. The glass faded, revealing the corrupted atlases inside. Their bodies were covered in alien growths. Their lights were no longer blue, but red. Eyes glowed with something dark. Ethan's jaw clenched. "You made them slaves." "They are weapons," Vorketh said, "and soon so will you." 2 guards pushed Ethan toward a platform in the center. A machine hung above it, full of tubes and sharp wires. The commander nodded. "Link him. Let him see what his beasts have become." Ethan struggled, but the chains cut deep. They strapped him to the platform, forcing a neural band over his head. Pain shot through his skull. Lights flashed. Then he was inside something else. Not his body. He could see through mechanical eyes, hear metal grinding, feel hunger and rage that wasn't human. He realized he was inside one of the taken atlases. The link was active. The aliens had connected him to it by mistake, thinking he was only a test subject. But the atlas recognized him. Deep inside the code, the human part was still there. "Ethan Cole," a voice whispered inside his head. It was weak, broken, but human. He pushed back against the link. "You know me." "Yes," it said. "They tried to erase us, but we remember." The alien technicians shouted as warning signals flashed across the consoles. The atlas body began to twitch. It tore free from its cables. Metal screamed. Vorketh's eyes widened. Ethan forced his thoughts into the link. "Listen to me. You are not theirs. You're mine. You're human." The beast roared, the sound shaking the ship. It crushed one of the pods beside it, spilling red light and smoke. Guards opened fire, plasma bolts cutting through the air. Ethan felt every impact through the neural bond, but he didn't stop. He forced the creature to move, breaking restraints, throwing bodies aside. Vorketh shouted orders. "Kill it!" The Atlas slammed into the walls, tearing through the chamber. Explosions ripped across the deck. Ethan's vision blurred from pain, but he smiled. He had control again, even if only for a moment. Then alarms screamed. The ship began to fall. The hull cracked. He heard the roar of the beast again, louder, closer. The platform collapsed, and Ethan felt himself being pulled into the chaos. Before everything went dark, he heard Vorketh's voice through the comm. "Run if you can, human. We still have your other beasts." The Zoran dreadship burned as it fell through the clouds. Fire tore across its hull, breaking it apart in the sky. Ethan was thrown against the wall of the collapsing chamber, still half connected to the Atlas neural link. The ship hit the ground in a blast of dirt and metal, then silence. Only the crackle of flames and the wind. He woke to pain. His head rang, blood running down his cheek. The restraints were broken. The neural band was gone. Around him, the wreck of the alien ship burned like a mountain of steel. He crawled through the wreckage until he reached open air. The world outside was gray with ash. The ruins of Earth stretched to the horizon. A shadow moved above him. The corrupted Atlas he had linked with had survived the crash. It was wounded, its armor cracked, one leg twisted, but still alive. It looked down at him, its red eyes dimming. Ethan stood, weak but steady. "You came back," he said quietly. The creature tilted its head, then lowered itself as if waiting. Ethan climbed onto the damaged frame and touched the control port. The neural sync responded again, weaker this time, but working. He looked toward the distance where smoke marked the old resistance base. "We're not done yet," he said. By nightfall, he reached the underground shelter. The guards aimed rifles when they saw the machine approach, but then they saw the man standing on top. Someone shouted, "It's Cole! He's alive!" Doors opened. People ran out, faces covered in dust. Survivors, soldiers, engineers, all that was left of the human defense. Ethan climbed down, legs shaking. General Holt met him at the entrance. "We thought you were dead," he said. "Half the network's gone. You saw what they did to the Atlases." "I saw," Ethan said. "They twisted them, but they didn't destroy their minds. We can still reach them." Holt frowned. "Reach them? They're under alien control." "Not fully," Ethan said. "One of them followed me. It's still part human." The general looked at the red-eyed machine outside. "That thing?" "It's proof," Ethan said. "If we can pull its data, we can wake the others." The engineers went to work immediately. They cut open the damaged Atlas, connecting cables to its core. Sparks flew as they forced its systems online. On the screens, broken code filled the air, lines of both alien and human design. Ethan stayed beside the machine, one hand on its armor, eyes never leaving it. "Come on," he whispered. "Wake up." Hours passed. Then the screens flashed. A signal, a pulse that repeated from deep under the ground. One of the technicians shouted, "We're getting a response, multiple coordinates." Ethan leaned over the monitor. It showed 3 other Atlas cores buried in old vaults across the planet. Still alive, still waiting. He turned to Holt. "We bring them back." The general nodded slowly. "You think it will make a difference?" "It will," Ethan said, "because if we don't, no one will be left to fight." The next days were a blur of movement. The resistance worked non-stop, pulling reactors from old bases, welding armor, rebuilding weapons. The wreck of the alien ship became a foundry. Human hands fixed human steel again. When the sun rose over the broken horizon, 3 Atlases stood beside the damaged hybrid, their eyes bright blue, their bodies shaking the ground. Ethan stood in front of them, wind whipping through the dust. "We take the fight back to them," he said. "No retreat this time." Then alarms blared. The radar screens filled with incoming signals, dozens, hundreds. The sky darkened as the Zoran fleet entered orbit again. This time, they were not alone. General Holt stared at the readings. They're bringing something new. Outside, the air vibrated with a deep sound, low and heavy. The clouds split apart as a shape descended, a creature larger than any atlas, covered in burning plates, wings stretching miles wide. Vorketh's voice came through the radio, cold and steady. "You think your beast can stand against ours? Let us see, human." Ethan looked up, the shadow covering the whole base. He reached for his comm. "Ready, all units." His voice was calm. Then he raised 2 fingers to his lips and whistled. The sky burned white with fire. The Zoran Titan landed first, shaking the ground like a storm. Buildings fell. Dust and smoke filled the air. Ethan stood on the hull of the largest atlas, blood on his face, armor scorched. Around him, the other human-built atlases roared, their eyes bright, engines pulsing like hearts. The Titan lifted its massive claw. The sound of it moving split the air. Ethan felt every vibration through the metal under his feet. The beast screamed, a sound that made the ground tremble. He reached for the comms. "All units, engage!" the atlases charged. Steel feet smashed through concrete and fire. The Titan struck first, swiping a hand through one atlas. Sparks flew. Smoke rose. The hybrid atlases moved as one, guided by Ethan's whistled commands. They hit the Titan from every side, fists and missiles striking metal skin. Each blow made a crack in the alien armor, but the Titan would not fall. Ethan felt pain in his chest, each vibration of the atlas under him hitting like a hammer. He whispered to the machine beneath him, "Hold on, just a little longer." The battle raged across the city. Civilians and soldiers watched from underground bunkers. Dust choked the air. Buildings broke like paper under the force of giants. The atlases moved with precision and fury. Humans had made them. Humans controlled them. And they fought for survival. The Titan roared and slammed a wing down, sending 2 atlases flying. One crashed into a skyscraper. Ethan hit the hull hard to steady himself. "Get up," he shouted. "Now fight." The machine obeyed. It raised a fist and slammed into the Titan's side. The impact rattled bones and metal alike. Lightning flashed from the Titan's eyes. Plasma shot from its chest, tearing through the street. Ethan ducked as debris rained down. The other atlases pressed forward, covering the injured one. The ground shook, and for a moment it felt like the end. But then a deep sound answered. Lower, heavier, filled with anger. The earth itself seemed to move. From the mountains beyond the city, the Prime Atlas emerged. Its armor glowed orange and red, molten and alive. It screamed, a sound that echoed in the minds of every human around. Ethan felt it through the neural link, a force of rage and strength beyond anything he had seen. He lifted his hand. The Prime Atlas roared again, and the others followed. They charged together, Titan against Titans, metal against flesh and fire. The world shook. Flames shot into the sky. The humans watched, hearts racing, hope returning for the first time. Ethan stayed on his atlas, guiding it through the chaos. Every move mattered. Every second was life or death. He shouted orders, whistled commands, pushed the limits of the machines and himself. The Prime Atlas crashed into the enemy Titan, splitting armor, breaking weapons, tearing it apart. Finally, the Titan fell, crushing the street below. Smoke and fire rose in a wave. Ethan and the other atlases stood, breathing hard, engines pulsing, eyes glowing. The battle was over. The Zoran fleet above began to retreat. Ethan slid down from the atlas back, chest heaving, sweat and blood mixing. Around him, the survivors cheered, tears and dirt on their faces. The city was destroyed, but humanity still stood. The cost had been high, but they had won. He turned to the Prime Atlas. It knelt before him, molten armor dripping, eyes calm now. Ethan reached out and touched the metal. For a moment, it felt like a heartbeat. The beast had answered. It had waited for him, and together they had survived. Then the radio crackled. His own voice, old and distorted, came through. If they ever control our beasts, remember, humans can always build another. Ethan smiled faintly, tired but alive. He looked at the sky. There would be other battles, other monsters, but they had proven one thing: humanity was not finished. Not yet.